Welcome back to another project around the farm. Today we're going to be talking about water treatment. So what we've got here is anybody that has a well is probably going to be pretty familiar with this type of a setup. You know, you have your pressure tank, you've got your filter, multimedia filter here, whatever they want to call it. Then we have a chemical injection, so the only thing we actually add is bleach. Then you have your retention tank. So a retention tank is just what's getting ready to get sent to the house. Then we have our holding tank here off to the left. What happened is the other day I came out here and I heard the pump running inside the tank, but it sounded like it was empty. So sure enough, I came in here and found that our system here, the backwash valve got stuck open and had drained 1,000 gallons out of our holding tank right outside out to the drain. And we have a pretty slow well, so it took almost 24 hours to fill that 1,000-gallon tank back again. So I went down to the local place and I said, hey, I need to get another one of these. And this particular unit has been discontinued. Nobody makes it, nobody makes parts for it. And so I was like, well, let's see what it would cost to go ahead and redo the system. For them to do a service call and come put a new system in is over 3,000 bucks just for this filter. That doesn't include anything else in the service call. And I was like, well, that's definitely not in the budget. Let's see what we can come up with. So I found some place where I could actually get some parts. So first thing I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to take this old one apart. And from the looks of it, some of my fittings are gonna be different and a couple other things. So we're gonna kind of go through the process of, if one of these fails on you, it looks more intimidating than it really is. So I'm going to take this apart and show you that if one of these does fail, you can pretty much do it yourself and save yourself thousands of dollars. So let me show you the new system and then we'll start tearing this old one out. All right, so here's the unit we're going to be installing. So this is the FlowWise water filtration system. Just at a quick glance, a couple of things that I have noticed are a lot different on this one versus my ancient one. One, it's all digital. The other thing is these pipes are spread apart, and these are a thread-in fitting, where the ones that I have right now are actually kind of with this whole bolt-in assembly. So it's going to take some modification to the pipe. Not a big deal. It's definitely going to be worth my time to save some money and do this myself. Now earlier I mentioned that this is called a multimedia filter, and this is what I wanted to kind of show you what I meant. So depending on your water, once you get your water tested, they're going to make a different mixture of medias that works for whatever you need out of it. So with ours, we have really high iron. So this is a mixture that's specific for helping getting a lot of the iron out of the water. And then you have this media here, which is kind of like a gravel. And then this one has another media in it, which is kind of a mixture of both, a little finer gravel with also this other mixed media in here. So that's why I mentioned it, that it was called a mixed bed, because you just have mixed types of medias in there. The key though is finding a place that can test your water so they give you the right mixture and the right ratios that you're going to need when you actually take this out to service it. If you're servicing this, you might as well just do this while you're at it. And depending on how bad the water is coming out of your well, you actually want to change this media every 2 to 3 years. We change ours about every 3 years. Ours is coming due again. We changed it 2 years ago, so it's due regardless if this piece of equipment failed or not. So let's go ahead and start tearing in this thing, get this old one apart, because I know I'm gonna have to run to town to get some new parts. All right, so you never want to work on an energized piece of equipment no matter what you're working on. So first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to unplug this controller. So we don't want to be messing with wires or cutting anything or chance damaging anything while it's wired in. The other thing I'm going to do, because I don't want this whole thing cycling while I'm in here, is I'm actually going to turn off my pump going in the house. So I just let the family know we're going to have no running water for a little while I kind of tear into this. Now I don't want to get too in depth because right now I have it bypassing this filter. So I'm hoping if I leave it on bypass, I can pull this out, I can change that media before I ever have to worry about the piping, because I want to make sure I have all the parts that I need before I actually really tear into this, because to do this, I'm going to have to bleed the pressure off of the pressure vessel coming in. I'm going to have to make sure this section of it is isolated as well. So I'm going to do everything I can up to that point, because I have a feeling we're going to be down with water for probably a good half a day for me to redo that piping. So let's get everything, let's open up some other breakers and let's start tearing into this thing. It's kind of a blessing in disguise, because one thing I found when I was draining the water out of this is our media level is actually down here less than half. Now when you replace this media, you want to go about 2/3 of the way full. I think they said you want about 15 to 18 inches worth of headspace up on top. So the media should really come to about here. Well, right now our media is way down here, less than half. So something inside that controller was leaking. I'm guessing probably the backwash, since that's where the cycle got stuck on. So in that backwash, it was actually pulling the media and sending out to the drain out to the back. So I'm kind of glad. I mean, it's one of those, it's an expensive thing to fail, but at least now I can get this fixed, because the media inside here is not cheap either. And especially if you're servicing it every 2 to 3 years, or if you have something special like us where we have to have a media that helps remove iron, it's not cheap to replace the media inside these. So, and I guess it is kind of a blessing. So we'll go ahead and get this fixed. We're gonna get this drained. You can tell from the hole here, the long tedious part of this is actually refilling the media, because that's not a very big hole to kind of fill everything. So I'm gonna go and get this all flushed out. I get it nice and clean. We're gonna add the new media, and then we're gonna cut the new pickup tube, because the new one is a little different diameter. So we're gonna have to get that replaced as well. So let's get this thing cleaned out and get it going. All right, so last night I kind of got this roughly plumbed in here. So I wanted to try to get this where it's the least amount of cutting on these pipes and movement, since I'm having to change everything, since the diameter of these is a little bit wider and things. So what I ended up doing is I'm gonna have the inlet come in, and then the outlet's gonna actually drop down. So all I'm gonna end up having to do is that the outlet pipe, I'm gonna have to cut it and drop it down about 2 inches. And then the inlet pipe here, I'll just have to cut it, reattach it, but then I'm gonna just shorten it up here by about 2 or 3 inches, and then that should get it to fit down in that pipe. So first thing we're gonna have to do is isolate the water pressure so we don't have any pressure spraying at us. So water coming out of the retention tank, then I have another one coming out where they actually goes into the house, and then there's a little drain in between so I can drain off the pressure so I get these cut. Because when we're putting the glue on here, I wanna make sure this is absolutely dry. Okay, so I just got all the piping all done on here. We got the glue setting. We're gonna give this about 2 or 3 hours, and then I'm gonna come out here. So let's make it about midnight. I'm gonna come out here and pressurize this and hope that we don't have any leaks. So let's keep our fingers crossed. We'll be back in a few hours. Okay, it's been a couple hours. So now we're gonna test out the system. Got it all plugged in. Now I have a temporary line here for the initial backwash. I didn't have enough poly tube to replace that. The poly tube that I have is the wrong size, so that's just going to be a temporary one. But main thing right now is going to be, let's actually put some pressure to this whole thing and keep our fingers crossed that we don't have any leaks anywhere. So let's first line it up here coming off the pressure tank. Okay, now we're fully pressurized. I'm going to try to let some of the air out of it here. All right, so I just went ahead and pressed this thing up. I got no leaks in any of the fittings, so everything looks good. I'm pretty happy how that worked out. Well, I hope you found the video helpful. Just kind of showing that if you got a little bit of time, don't be afraid to take on something like this. I mean, this saved me about $2,800, me doing it by myself. So I definitely say that was worth a little trial and error to save that kind of money. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. As always, if you want to join me with all my other projects, all my other videos, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you around.